Hey people, I have on Mary. I'm not even gonna try to say it. I just listened to someone else
Higgins.
say it.
Higgins.
Okay, yes, that's easier. Um, I saw your video with Beth Stelzer, or I don't know how to say her last name either, but whatever, you guys get what I'm saying, of SaveWomenSports.com. And it was, I think, after you testified in South Carolina. And this whole thing of fighting for women's rights in sports has had me emotional at times, and that video honestly made me cry like really hard.
Chair, Committee. My name is Mary Higgins. I'm a former elite athlete racing for the U.S. National Cycling Team. I raced the 1985 Women's Tour de France. I'm a three-time Olympic qualifier, nine-time state road champion, a U.S. National Road Cycling Champion, and 8 times on the national podium. I've trained and raced since 1982, working a full-time job. I've been hit by 2 cars, no fault of my own. I've suffered numerous broken bones, injuries, surgeries, injuries, of course, pursuing my career as a cyclist. Women's sports have always suffered, but never has an issue as destructive as having boys and men being allowed to compete as women have the potential to completely destroy women's sports. The effects are so devastating that I have seen entire cycling women's teams quit racing. I personally know many women who refuse to race now. Men are winning women's national championships. They are winning world championships, women's world championships. They are crushing women competitors, sweeping fields by far, far outpacing the women. Men are taking world records, national records. They are taking our scholarships. The whole reason behind Title IX was to protect women and women's sports. Boys and men are faster, they're stronger. They're born with 20% larger hearts, lungs, muscle mass, bones. Women cannot compete against a biological male. Lastly, they're inherently more aggressive and dangerous to race with or compete against. USADA is the governing body to prevent doping. Men are allowed 5 times more testosterone than women. And so lastly, I am personally begging you to pass this bill and protect females before more women get physically injured, emotionally devastated, and we lose all the gains women have made throughout the years. Imagine showing up at a race and knowing that you've lost before you even began. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's just, this is so insane where we're allowing, not we, obviously not you and I, the crazies in the world that don't understand reality, are allowing men to race with women. I raced in California for I don't know how many years, not as much as you, and you're not as nearly legendary as you. My God, Cat Four, woot woot, legendary sixth and seventh place over and over. I designed this jerseys. I don't even know if women's WCA is still around. It was like a little online contest they had, but who cares about me? So I'm obviously very passionate about this. I've been an athlete my entire life, and your testimony was straight facts. And I can't believe we're having to state reality now that men are stronger than women, like athletic wise. I mean, so if you want to run through, or you can reply to that or whatever, just.
Yeah, absolutely. No, so, just a little bit of history is in 82, I was going to art school. I'm an artist, and I wanted to get fit, and I started riding my dad's bike, which was huge. I loved it. So I walked into a bike shop and I said, I want to race bikes. And of course, the guys were like, yeah, right. This little blonde hair, blue eyed girl. So they said, Tuesday and Thursday, this is when we train, show up. I did. 2 months later, I'm dropping all the guys. So that's when they were like, okay.
Wow.
I catapulted to, in '83, I went to the Nationals, which is very unusual. Generally takes about 3 years to make a cyclist.
Phew.
So it finished in the top 20, which was okay. Um, then the following year was '84, which was the very first year they had the women's road race in the Olympics. And the
Oh, wow.
Olympics were in LA. So
Oh, amazing.
my now husband packed up and moved to LA to train for the Olympic trials. They were being held in Seattle. Unfortunately, I did qualify, won a bunch of races, good races, had a great time. This is where I met Inga Thompson. Um, 2 weeks before I crashed. And of course, back then we didn't wear hard helmets. They basically didn't even have hard helmets. So I fractured my skull, broke my collarbone in 6 places, had blood running out my ear. I was so, I had such a bad concussion that it was about 6 weeks before I could even get up out of bed.
Oh, my God.
So um, I recovered from that, but because I couldn't work and all these races I paid for. I did not have a sponsor. I did not have a team. We would drive there, sleep in the car, whatever. We sold absolutely everything we owned to move back to Florida with my parents. And ironically, in 1985, in February, I got a call from the USAC, is what it's called now, United States Cycling Association. Anyways, they asked me if I was interested in riding the women's Tour de France for the U.S. national team.
Wow.
It took me about 2 seconds to say yes.
Wow.
And so uh, that is that was an amazing, amazing experience. And I would happen to say in the '80s, '90s were when women's cycling was almost the pinnacle. We had huge stage races, which is when you race day after day after day. Decent purses. I made more money racing on the weekend than working all week.
Wow.
Uh,
Amazing. You're also a
yeah.
badass, but whatever. Wow.
Well, yeah. Anyways, I have been hit by 2 cars. I have had I lose track of all the surgeries and broken
Yeah.
bones I've had. Wrists, 2 hours breaking my elbow, and crashes, and just everything that I've gone through in order to try to make the Olympic team. I've qualified 3 times for the Olympic trials, and uh, something has always gotten in the way, and I've never gone. But it's such a difficult sport to begin with. So fast forward to really even just a few years ago, kids are grown, and I thought, I'll just pick up cycling again, and I would do pretty much 2 races a year, like a prep, the regionals, and then nationals.
Wow.
So I won nationals in 2016, and
Amazing.
between 2015 and 2018, I was on the podium 8 times. So uh,
National podium.
nationals, yeah. So I was
So
really
cool.
happy with that. Since then, I've had 2 back surgeries, and all my younger, being hit by a car and the injuries take its toll. So I'm sidelined. I'm pretty much disabled at this point.
Yeah.
However, what's happening now, and a lot of people don't realize it, is that the International Olympic Committee in 2015 changed rules, the rules for a transgender to compete as a woman was that they had to go through a sex change and they had to meet the same hormone level as a woman. Now, boys and men, boys are born 20%, they have 20% larger hearts, 20% larger lungs, bones, muscle mass, blood volume, they are stronger. I did a search for world records, and they only have world records for running. Ages 5 through 19, different lanes, like 40-meter dash, 100-meter dash. The boys beat the girls every single time except for one time. There was a girl that beat a boy's time.
Yeah.
That's 5 years old.
Yeah.
So the whole, if they transition before puberty, no, men are 20% faster. That's biology.
Should I read from the chart that you have as well? Because it's obviously incredibly informative. That's on SaveWomenSports.com, that chart that you have in front of you. Do you want to read from it, or do you want me to? Wanna go? Okay. Let's see. The strongest 10% of females can only beat the bottom 10% of men in hand grip tests. This is obviously all sorts of facts. Hand grip is one of the most widely used markers for strength. Men are faster than women in running, swimming, rowing, kayaking, and short distance and long distance. Women's speed world records are all about 90% of their men's speed world records. Each year, hundreds of men easily beat the world's best time in the women's marathon. Do you want to read I don't know if you have it in front. I was going to go back and forth if you want.
I don't. I don't
Oh,
have
okay, it's
that.
fine. It's fine. I keep going. Men have broader shoulders. I mean, this is crazy. I thought this was like, can't you just observe like males and females? First of all, when you see a male on the podium, it's like, I just think the cognitive dissonance with people, especially all the podium photos, and what I mean by podium is a lot of the cycling stuff. I think if you're there, because I'm always like, how are people? I know what there's answers because it's like it's hate speech and you can't speak out about it and you'll lose your spot and blah blah blah, and they keep people in fear and terror. But I also think there's a lot of cognitive dissonance going on where if you're at a race, especially mountain biking, I always think about this because they're like completely covered. Where it's ultimately the best stealth sport for men to categorize into women's sports because they're completely covered, like helmet and everything. Where if people see bodies, they'll just be like, "Is that
I know.
And then they're like, no, can't be. That can't be. So I think there's a lot of that going on where they're like, there's no way this could be going on. I honestly think it's that where it's like the emperor's not wearing clothing. People always talk about that, but it's so true where it's like everyone's going along with it and you're like, okay, I guess the women are okay with it. But it's just like, even if you've experienced this, and I have as well, where you ask women just to talk about it and they're like, no, or you won't get a response. There's just, I hate this whole thing of like, well, a lot of women are saying yes. I'm like, yeah, a lot of women are also saying yes because they're terrified and they know damn well they're going to be completely removed from them even competing in sports if they even say anything. If they say, I'm not okay with this, or just like, can we, or even if you say, can we talk about this? Then they'll be like, all right, you're silenced, you're removed from the team, no sponsor. I mean, it also threatens the sponsorship of the teams because I don't know if there's not a lot of ads on this one, but there's a million ads on these cycling teams because it funds and fuels the more pro teams and even the not as pro teams really. So like if you say anything, I mean, this is so widespread now that if anyone says anything, sponsorships will, I don't know. It's just, there's a huge threat that it's such a lie where they're like, well, women are saying yes. I'm like, yeah, but a lot of women are saying yes because they're living in fucking fear. Like, even if you were to ask them, like, hey, how do you really feel? They probably still won't even tell you because people are being silenced by fear.
So what happened in 2000?
Women, excuse me.
What happened in 2015 was the International Olympic Committee changed the rules from, so you do not need a sex change operation anymore. So
As if that does anything, by the way. What the F? Like,
right.
you still have the body, lower body fat, explosive power, higher
Yep.
hemoglobin levels, 10% performance gap. Men have 66% more upper body muscle than women, and 50% more lower body muscle, larger heart and lungs, more muscle and larger bones. Men are taller, etc. Like, I
But
mean,
the
what does
reason
that change?
the reason we see so many, and a lot of people don't see it because they're not into the sports,
Yeah.
but this is just a short list of all the transgenders that are they're racing,
Men.
men
Men.
racing as women.
Yeah.
And, and so now
Pretend mode.
they don't have to go through the sex change, and they race with up to 10 times the amount of testosterone allowed than what a biological female is allowed. Okay, so
Lance
they're all
Armstrong is like, damn, I missed my window.
really so pretty much any guy can walk up and say, "Hey, I'm a woman," and start racing. And what's happening? I've seen it. These guys are literally winning every single race they have ever entered. Okay,
Yes.
no one ever does that. There is no
No.
such thing. The very best cyclists in the world do
So
not
true.
win every single race, but these men are kicking ass on these women. They're flying by them because we cannot, women can't compete. The other thing is, there's almost kind of like two types of transgenders. There's the type that the Caitlyn Jenner, maybe you can think of, she actually does her hair, puts makeup on, wears a
He.
dress. Yes, he does.
It's hard, I know.
But well, I almost give them more respect. Then you have the ones that compete, and literally they don't even attempt to look like a woman or
No.
act like one. They mock us. They are making fun of us. They
We haven't heard
flaunt.
her. Yeah, they even say I've seen a snippet of an on an Instagram story of this guy who's on the road eating a hot dog, and one of his friends took the photo and said, blah 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 is built different. Like they fucking know what they're. It's
Of
impossible to
course.
cuss. I'm like, screw that. They know, and they're like, I mean, I'm like, well, you know that this person's built different. It's a man, and they're allowed to do this because they can. They don't care. They don't give a
Well,
shit.
and in all fairness, it is coming from the International Olympic Committee. They are making these rules,
Right, right.
and USAC
True.
and many of the other track and field, triathlon, those organizations follow the rules that the IOC is making. So
Cheater clubs.
yeah, it's that's the head of the snake, really.
Yep.
The local promoters are pretty much their hands are tied. Everyone agrees that men are faster than women. That's why we have two divisions. But now, Title IX is a great example. This is horrible. This is horrible. Title
Joke.
IX is based on sex. That is how that law was written. Well, now it's changed to gender. It's all over for girls. It is all
I know.
over. They are losing scholarships. They will never, ever win another race. And why would I go and train 6 hours a day, go to the gym, get hit by a car, go through multiple surgeries to be third or fourth
Yep.
against a man? No, women are not. I mean, I've seen it already. Several all women's teams have quit racing. Women are walking away. It's devastating the women's fields.
What do you know? What state that all women's team are you allowed to say? I'm curious.
Yes,
That quit.
both of those were in Colorado, which is a very liberal.
Oh yeah.
Um, and my friend who I make cycling clothes, custom cycling clothes, and so I did their kits for their teams. And she said, it's pointless. We line up and there's 5 guys. So we're racing for sixth.
Fuck that. That's not even the podium. I mean, one,
It,
two, three
it,
is podium to me. I don't count fourth and fifth, but it's just
right. It's ludicrous. Ludicrous. I researched a guy that was just second in a really, really big race yesterday for the women. And I went back 2 years. Literally, I think he has either won or been on the podium every single race. He's probably won more races than I've even been in. No one does that. Okay, the
nobody.
only the only athletes that do that are men racing against women. So it's
Exactly.
but the general public, I've had these discussions with people. They're just like, oh, I had no idea. There's no transgenders on the podium. There's none in the Olympics. They don't see it because they're not in that
Right.
atmosphere.
Well, we need to make louder noises about it when that's what we're trying to do here. It's like I hopefully it's only a matter of time. Unfortunately, it's going to have to be. I think obviously a lot of women bowing out or losing all sorts of placements and money and scholarships and having the awesome feeling of winning a fucking race. There's nothing like it, or even being on the podium.
Yep, it
The men
is.
get up and they're like beer drinking, like just smiling, loving it. And I'm like, you're fucking cheating. And as soon as I say that and have an opinion, it's like, fuck you, fuck off, bitch, turf, whatever. Literally, I'm like, cool, do you have anything to say? Like, it's true, that's why.
Yeah, they silence women. I had a friend who wanted to join the Save Women's Sports. She made a very nice post just on the differences. Didn't, nothing negative toward them, really, just educational. Anyways, somebody called her employer and told them that they were going to be sued if that post was not down by noon.
Oh my
And
God.
so the employer said, you will be fired if that post is not down by noon. So
Social media is so dumb. It's like,
that's
you
her
can't even
choice.
state opinions or feelings now. I mean,
They've
thank
silenced
God
you.
UK. I know. Thank God. I mean, I'm assuming this is going to be actually enacted in UK recently with Maya Forstater, where she's allowed. It's good and bad. It's good. It's good that you can state your opinion about reality. That biological sex is immutable, and hopefully what we're saying would protect them. But it's coming across as like, well, you're allowed to state your opinion. I'm like, but this isn't an opinion. This is freaking reality.
This is
Like,
fact.
yeah, this is the facts of life. So I mean, I just hope that we can use that case here and as an example, or have something like that happen here. We have to have some sort of case like that or something. I guess legally, I would assume for people to wake up or have some sort of protection. Before the Maya thing happened, I was like, we need to have like a Kira Bell kind of a thing happen here, where they're like younger kids cannot consent to puberty blockers in the UK.
Oh,
Because
I
I'm like, well,
know.
we need to have some sort of lawsuit like that. Unfortunately, lives need to be ruined in order for people to be like, what the fuck is going on? This is insanity. Chopping off kids' body parts because they
Yes.
have feelings, like fleeting feelings about their gendered
Yes.
soul or whatever. This is ridiculous. Nobody's born in the wrong body. This is about bodies. Identities, your identity, your feeling that you're a woman is not your body. That's not the reality. Your
Right.
body is, more explosive power, taller, larger hearts, lungs, higher hemoglobin. I mean, like, that's your body. That's your
Yes.
real body and what your body's able to do and carry and achieve and function with. What's in your head and how you feel has nothing to do with the real state of your body.
Correct.
These are completely separate. Why can't we talk about this, Like, why is it that, God, I hate this. I'm just like, no, some women are okay with it. No, well, some women don't get to fork over the rights of other women who say no.
Well, and
And if
that's
one woman says no, then we need to listen to that woman and go, all right, we need to talk about this then.
yeah.
That says a lot if someone, women are like, what the hell? And then they're like, oh, well, you don't matter, but these people matter, and we're going to give them first place, and you need to
Yeah.
shut up.
Right. That's the sad part is that they are hijacking our category.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and we've suggested several times, develop your own category, but unfortunately, that's not what they want. They
No, it's
want
not.
to they want to squish women. I mean, that's their
Yeah.
thing. It's
Yes.
a they almost hate women, and we're like
They do.
it's
They don't care. They have no care, no fucks. It's the most
no,
egotistical. They are their own gods. Everything is all them, them. And if you have a moment of what about me? I don't care. I don't care.
yeah,
I don't care. Oh,
that's
you
right,
care? Well, that's great, but I matter because I have gender feels, and
right,
my feels overlap where your rights begin, or
yes,
you know,
exactly. That's
which I
exactly
mean,
true.
yes.
It's very
I'm just so
sad.
tired of this. Yeah, like
So,
I think it was the same guy we were talking about earlier, Fox Croissant, whatever. I don't care. I'm gonna label these people. They need to be called out. That's not his real name, but it's his Instagram handle. I
right.
don't condone harassment of any sort, by the way. Whatever. I heard that his in one of the stage races he did recently, he wasn't 5 minutes ahead. He wasn't in the road race, and he won. He wasn't 10 minutes ahead. He wasn't 15 minutes ahead. He was 20 minutes ahead of the main pack of women. So, can you explain how important time is in milliseconds and how obsessive cyclists get about aerodynamics? Like, obsessive. Obsessed. Like, minute and time and everything. It's everything in the sport of cycling. And to have a male be like, I'm a woman, and not just annihilate, like, by a minute, 20
Yep.
freaking minutes in a road race is batshit. It sounds like
So
a cheater. Oh, it
so
is.
maybe people have heard of Greg LeMond. He is one of the greatest American cyclists ever. He's won the Tour de France, I believe, 3 times, 2 or 3 times. He after 3 weeks of racing, he beat his Laurent Fignon by 8 seconds. So that's
Wow.
how close. This
Is
is
that a woman?
no, no, no,
Oh,
no. These are men. This is
okay.
the men's Tour de France.
Okay, okay.
I forget which year, maybe 1989, but Greg LeMond, over 3 weeks of racing, it came down to 8 seconds. So
Yeah.
that's how close it should be. And
Yeah.
when you have a man that is winning, crushing, I mean, just blowing by the women, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
It's so obvious. And now with those new laws that they don't have to have a sex change, they don't have to, they literally, any guy can just wake up and say, I feel like a woman and I'm going to race, and take their purses, take their money, take their
Purses
scholarship,
means what? Just so
money,
people know. Yeah.
money,
Like the
prizes,
winning, yeah.
preems. There was $1,000 preem.
And what are preems?
A preem is a sprint, kind of a race within the race. So they'll say, okay, $1,000 preem next lap. So the next
Yeah, they'll ring a
lap,
bell. At least in the, I'm
yep,
sure they did it
they
back then like
ring the
that in the
bell.
crits. Yeah.
Yes,
That's when it
and
gets ramped up and crazy, and it's like, oh fuck. It's basically hard efforts for a lap. You know, I'm basically hijacking your explanation. Go ahead.
no, no, that's all right. Yes, exactly. They sprint for that preem, and whoever wins gets the $1,000.
Yep.
Well, of course, a man won in the women's, and
That's a
this
lot of money, dude. We didn't have those kind of preems. We had like socks. I mean, it's still fun. Like hell, give it to me. Socks, tires. So when you're racing for cold hard cash and $1,000, that's a big freaking deal. Especially in the women's fields. I mean, I'm sure you know more than I do because you raced through those years. Legendary. I like to look up. You're amazing. Like honestly, I raced for enough to realize category 1 and 2. One is pro, and I don't even know if
I'm a
the
cat
would
one.
you, yeah, would you even call that though the U.S. national team? They're not like it's just you're the
It,
national team.
yeah, it used to be Cat One was national team. Now it's just Cat One.
Dude, Cat 1 women are incredible. And yeah, there was actually, this is a random story, but an ex Olympic rower woman Her legs were incredible, and she started out in the fours, and she annihilated us because she's an athlete and Olympian or whatever. Anyway, category one is such a big deal. I don't know where I'm going with this. Besides, these women are incredibly powerful and very strong.
This is the elite women. These are
Big
the
deal.
women that go to the
Badasses.
Olympics. These are the women that are, your national champions and not masters like
Serious
myself.
athletes.
Yeah, I mean they get paid. They're on
That's
big
what I was going to say.
teams.
That was my question. I was going to ask, do you remember do you remember it where it was the thing where you wouldn't get any money or any sort of prizes, and then you started getting money and prizes in women's sports?
When I raced, the prizes were good. Like I said,
Okay. Wow.
and you start going to like back then the self series was an Olympic trials qualifier. So yeah, it's if you were third or fourth, you still get $500-600, which.
So, hey, commercial break. You can support my work by joining the Rational Revolution on my Subscribestar, which is subscribestar.com/distortedlens. Or you can donate directly through my PayPal, which should be some link somewhere around here. I'll put it up. Just wanted to have a commercial break and make sure that you support my work. If you enjoy the work that I do, if you get any sort of entertainment, any sort of education, and you just want to support my work, you can do that by doing one of the things I just mentioned. So, back to the show. That's pros, though. That's right. Well, because I was speaking with a woman locally in California who's a mountain biker, and she was mountain biking racing, and I was asking her, I figured most women or people out here are like super liberal and like are for this, and she was actually like, hell no, this is ridiculous. We have, we've just recently gotten like prizes and notoriety in women's mountain biking racing, and to now have this is such a mockery and slap in the fucking face. I only cuss because this is how furious I am. This is absolutely absurd. Like, this is exactly the opposite of what sports should be. And sports is all about fairness. This is legitimately, realistically not fair to women. Period.
So
Period.
the IOC, USAC, and USADA is the organization that tests for drugs. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, are so discriminatory toward women. The rules are so, men get away with this, but women, you can't do anything. You can't take medicine that will protect your bones. But
I've heard about this. Yeah.
Men can actually dope, get caught, and then he's too important. Chris Froome is too important.
Oh God.
So
yeah. Celebrity status.
No bans. Yeah. Lance Armstrong, who I'm sure everybody's heard of, he always said, "Oh, I've been tested 500 times. Never once did I test positive." That is a outright lie. He tested positive several times, but they swept it under the rug and let him go. Everyone knew he was cheating.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now a woman, if they take their hormone replacement therapy, I had a hysterectomy when I was 37 years old. Mm-hmm. So for me, I was a young woman to not have hormones, and my bones were already crap. So it's important that 1 nanoliter of testosterone protects those bones, and it's not performance enhancing at all. We're not allowed to do that. We cannot have that. But men get away with murder. It's
literally Caitlyn Jenner, cough cough. Anyway,
and
excuse me.
The other thing is that men are more aggressive. They race differently. They do not race like women. Women do not take the risks that men take. They will literally knock you over just to get to that line. Okay,
elbowing. Oh yeah, that actively happens in men's fields.
Oh yeah,
I've never seen that with women in my life. In my life.
Have you seen sprints when the guys are like headbutting each other?
Yes.
Yeah.
Insane.
At 40 miles an hour, they're doing that.
They don't give a shit. Yeah, I've seen that. I mean, yep.
Women don't do that. So it's even, it's just Plus, men don't have monthly cycles. That
Exactly.
really affects your performance. If you
Yep.
are having bad cramps, do you think you're going to be at the top of your game? Of course not.
No.
Men never have
Even
that.
if you don't have cramps, even if you're just going through your menstrual cycle, my husband was just talking about this. There's a podcast he listens to that's a really popular UK dudes. I forgot what it's called, but they were discussing the performance, and it's it's proven. I mean, women going through having their menstrual cycle, they're not going to be on their top tier
No.
athletic performance level. And I mean, this is so ridiculous. Why are we even talking about? I'm like, of course, if you put a man in there, he's gonna double uh take over you and the rest of
Yeah.
the field. And like, who's to say that? And I've heard of the. Oh, I actually heard of this happening. My friend who does triathlons and whatnot in California, she said that one of the guys that was in the race, or I don't even know where this is coming from at this point, but I fully believe it. The coach was like, slow down to the dude, like, don't be so obvious. Like, who's to say they won't pull back so it's not as out there like you're 20 minutes ahead, where you kind of hang out. Like, I mean, people absolutely do that without even doing the cheating thing. And
Yeah.
then, cycling field, if it's all men or if it's all women, people will just hang out in the pack and not do your poll. I mean, you can
Right,
race
right,
however
right.
you want, but in the
Yes.
criterium race, you're supposed to put in some sort of, it's like a moral code, like give a penny, take a penny thing, where make some sort of fucking effort. And the people that just sit in the pack where you're protected, and when you draft behind other wheels, as you fully know, this feels insulting telling you this. I mean, I'm not telling you, it's the people who are listening. Anyway, you conserve so much power. So there are people that actively hang out, and then when it comes down to the sprint, or the last couple 4 laps, they'll
Right,
line up
right.
and
Yeah.
just annihilate because they've reserved, stored all their
Right,
energy. I don't know where I was
right.
going with that. But that's
Well,
still,
that's
I
racing.
guess, yeah, exactly. No one's saying that's not fair. I mean, it is what it is, and no one sees
So,
what goes on during the field or during the race, so
so
they could be like, wow.
that type of tactic is a team tactic, and
Yeah.
the difference is that these men
Yeah.
are just flying by all these women who have been sucking wheel and been saving their
Right,
energy,
right.
and
Doesn't
they're
matter.
right. It doesn't matter. The,
I think most of these men are, I want to say unattached, because unattached in a way that they don't have any. I mean, I'm sure this exists and it will probably happen where they don't have any other teammates. So they're, solo, where you don't get to work with the team and have them help. They don't fucking need it. They don't need. What am I talking about? My bad. They don't need any sort of team helping this person out. By the way, that's a huge deal. Like, I didn't even think about this. When you go and race, you're on a team, you come, I mean, you practice, you talk about it, about we're gonna work for Jenny today, and everyone has a role in helping out Jenny to be pulled and led out to hopefully get on the podium in first place, and everyone does a concerted effort, and this is a serious
yes,
organizational thing with the group.
sure.
So I mean, that is also just a whole. I mean, then what's the point of doing all that if they're just gonna be a man that destroys all that? Oh, so you really are content with racing with, getting placed in third place or second and whatever. If you're looking to upgrade, placement also matters with your points. So, like, if as a man keeps putting a hindrance on, there shouldn't be a hindrance on women and women's sports. Like, it just needs to be women only. I
Yes,
don't care if you feel like a woman. Like, you have a male
right.
body. That is the facts. How many times do I have to say it? I'll keep saying it.
I
It's fine.
I I keep trying to educate people who are not into sports. They don't see it. They don't think it's a
Yeah.
problem. And especially the liberals are like, "Oh, no, they have to be accepted," and "Oh, boohoo, they've had such hard lives."
Oh, harder than women, even harder. I'm
Well,
like, oh,
well,
don't even.
what do you think about all those gymnasts that were molested and sexually abused for years and years and years? You don't think they have problems now? I
Yeah.
mean, that
Because they have female
excuse
bodies.
that excuse is, it makes me livid. I
I
I
know.
know I know Olympic champions who are now homeless. They're living on the street. Women, not the
Yeah.
guys. They go on to be successful.
Yeah. Because people
It
listen to women. People, I mean,
or
women's sports in
men.
general, I'm not going to say, maybe I shouldn't say in general, but to a lot of people, it's a fucking joke. WNBA,
Yeah.
jokes about there being empty seats and
Yep.
women's anything. And I think this
Yes.
also is
I
what we're seeing going on now. Why IOC or USAC or whatever these organizations, they don't care. I mean, this
no.
is another reason why I stopped racing. Also, just because I was like, ugh, whatever. I think it was a mental block that I had about me being the first one to jump, or I don't know, because I could always get myself in the spot to be in the perfect sprint placement, which was pretty tough to get yourself in
It
the
is.
third or fourth or fifth wheel, and I had no
Yeah.
problem doing that because I was fearless, whatever. But the
Yeah.
sprint, pff, whatever. Anyway, what was I going on with about that? What? Oh, damn! What was I
Well,
just
it's
saying?
it's the IOC and USAC. I don't know what they're
I
thinking
totally forgot.
because
Yeah,
they
what was I saying?
they uh, even on their website they literally promote men racing as women. It's
Oh my god. Oh, I've seen countless articles being like this pity story about the man and how hard his transgender journey is or was, and the
oh
suicide
yeah,
rate. And it's, if you read it, it's freaking propaganda.
it is.
It's pity stories, it's sad stories to manipulate and pull your heartstrings, because they're manipulating people by hijacking their empathy and having them get their way through that. That's what I was going to say. I stopped racing because of how I saw how women were treated, including me.
Yeah,
There
like
was a whole
crap.
red kite racing series calling it out. I don't give a fuck. Steve Rosefield is a piece of shit. He's a misogynistic a-hole. Because I also work for a cycling apparel company. He would come in and just say shit, not cool. Just pig, total pig. So there's this whole series that, people usually, if you want, pick a series that you focus on, and there's multiple races throughout a season that you try to do your best in, and you accumulate points throughout each race that you do with that series. And Red Kite Racing is a series that I was gunning for,
Yes.
and I got like third place, which was like, whoa, big deal. And like once it was over, the whole series, no big achievement thing. He was like announcing it to like the small huddled group of us, not even everyone at the race, and was like, he mistakenly said that I tied with someone else for, I can't remember if it was fourth or something, but I just remember him being like, I just remember being outraged, like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't tie. Like, it just, he can't even get that right. And he was like, oops, oh, and laughed it off. I mean, I know
Right.
this sounds like nothing, but it's one of those things being there. It's felt so insulting because this guy's behavior, it's that whole thing. And then another race series I did, Fort Ord, old military base. I was on the podium only because there was like really people that showed up for that race, but I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, take it. Whatever. And we're getting up on the podium to take a photo, and the freaking organizer, all nonchalant, willy nilly, don't give a fuck, just is like, let's put a dog up there for like whatever place it was, second place to fill the podium. Isn't this funny? And I was like, I don't spend my time, my money, my training, working my ass off. I'm like to be mocked at and have a fucking dog, like a dog. Do you think this is a game? Can you imagine? Can you imagine doing that to a Category 1 men's team? Being like, let's put a doggy up there. Isn't it cute? Oh, look at you girls. You got second. You got first. Oh, let's get a doggy. Like, fuck you, dude. Fuck you. I don't go and race to have a fucking dog on my podium. Like, are you kidding me? This isn't a game. This is competition. I'm not some nice willy-nilly person. I fucking go all in. Like, this is a big deal to me. And you make a freaking mockery? I mean, at the time, it's just one of those things where I can't believe it's happening, and I'm still outraged by it. Like, also now there's photos that are circulating online of like, if I saw that, I'd be like, why the fuck is there a dog on the podium, dude? I mean, it's so clear how men see what women's sports are. It's a fucking
Oh, yeah.
joke to them.
It
So I'm
is.
like, I'm fucking done with this shit. I don't need to subject myself to this bullshit anymore. Fuck you. Fuck
Right.
you. I forgot his name, but he's well known. Fort Ord. Y'all know in California who runs that race. Fuck you, dude. Sorry. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I don't honestly, I don't know why any man would ever want to be a woman to begin with. To me, it's the biggest insult
Yeah.
in life. I'm constantly being talked over, not listened to, ignored.
Yeah.
Just that's jobs. When I had my company, jobs would go to men because they're men, or I was hit on, or
Yep.
well, you could get a bigger job if you fill in the blank.
Yeah, yeah.
Seriously, no. That's it's just I don't know why
Well,
anybody would want to put themselves through that.
because some of it's a fetish for them, literally. We need to talk about that more, especially with the older people. One of that same guy, that croissant cheater, he was racing and it was like a mid-race photo, and he had his like in the middle of a race, jersey zipped down to here
Oh, of
with
course,
his
yeah.
fake boobies like hanging. I'm like, I have never in my life seen that. Never. Never. Only after warming up when it's hot and when it's time to go, you fucking zip up and you go. What? I mean, it's also like, look at my fetish. Look at me, like flaunting my estrogen injection, like things. Like,
I don't
I'm
even
like,
know.
what is that?
I don't even know if they do estrogen. I mean, half the guys
That's a good question.
that compete, like I said, there's two types of transgenders. The ones that compete,
Yeah.
they don't even want to take the testosterone blocker, and I believe a lot of them don't.
Yeah,
USADA,
because who checks this? Who
no
checks
one.
that? Who is that
Right.
exactly? Yeah.
USADA is supposed to be, but they don't. Um, but man, I'll tell you what, if you're on hormones, man, they'll ban you for
Oh,
that
yeah. Well, it's like
because
this whole
you're a
thing is
woman.
exactly. Well, this whole thing is like, imagine being a man and you're not doing any blockers or what they say will allow you to race with them or whatever with women. Ridiculous, as if that's gonna like,
And
again, like they have different
it's not
bodies,
going to
bone,
matter.
heart.
Yeah,
It
it
doesn't
doesn't
matter. No,
really
it
matter.
doesn't. But it's like I can just totally imagine them being like, "You're not allowed to ask me that, bigot, turf." You know, they go, "Oh, oops, sorry." You know what I mean? I just find this whole ideology like a total protection with everything where they can manipulate everyone and be like, oh,
Yeah.
you want to ask me that? Well, if you ask me that, I'm going to leak this email and your ass is going to be over. Like, do we really, like, this is absolutely, I guarantee you it's happening. Like, I guarantee it because I see it time and again, like what you just said with that
Hmm.
person who, I'm assuming she deleted that post.
Oh, absolutely. She had to. It was either that or lose her job. She called me. I said, just
God.
take it down. Take it down because they won't stop. They
Yeah.
they they will get you fired.
I'm assuming
Um,
that was on Facebook.
so I told you I was doing custom cycling clothes, and I had a Facebook store. So when I started
Mm.
to speak out, they would go in and
You
flag
mean
all my
speak truths? Oh, how controversial.
they would flag my products as guns or drugs or whatever. Well,
Oh my
Facebook
God.
immediately takes those products down, and
Hmm.
it takes sometimes weeks to get that back up. Well,
Yeah.
after the third time, I was just like, screw it. I just took the whole store down. So it's not only that, but oh yeah, they attack you every name in the book, and it's just I call them trans terrorists.
They are, and they expect the rest of the world to conform to their cult. Like, I'm sorry, this is not what I believe, and I don't subscribe to your uh gender cult religion ideology. That's not
Yeah,
my religion. I don't subscribe to that.
no,
I would if this was a fair world, I would say you can go ahead and do that, but I'm like, well, I don't want to encourage them to do that because by them, encouraging them into their mental illness and delusion, it just, exacerbates everything and they're so incredibly aggressive. Like this is total woman hatred, like
they're
massively.
men. That's how men act.
Yeah. And by the way, they don't care about you, who's an actual woman. They'd
Right,
rather be like,
right.
"Oh, well, I'm the woman." And in fact,
Yes,
I'm a better woman. And by
yes,
the way, my life is so much harder than yours will ever be because I'm a trans woman. Like I
yeah,
actually have it harder than you. Trans misogyny, like go get out, like just go f yourself. You've got to be kidding me. You're hijacking everything about what women deal with and like trying to be like this is real. Like, and I think that's what that kid was saying to me the other day because I said this. Oh, that guy's a cheater, and he went off on me,
yeah.
and he was like, you're the misogynist, and you prop up the patriarchy, and I was like, I was like, I'm waiting. Can you back that up with like something? You can't just say something and then have it be true. If we're going to have a conversation here, you need to give me evidence of where are you getting this from? And I think what he was trying to do is the whole trans misogyny thing. I'm like, I'm not playing that game. The person I'm talking about is a male and I'm a female.
Right.
Okay? If I mean, like, also, whatever. They can't even have conversations. They call you names, so you go, am I really bad? Oh my God, I didn't mean like that. Oops, sorry. And then that shuts down the conversation because they don't have shit. They know their ideology is BS and an actual joke. I think this is at the beginning phases where people are like, oh my God, are we really getting away with this? By calling them names? Silences them? This is great.
Yeah. No,
they have ultimate power now. Now it used to be like, ooh, watch out, like, saying stuff like that at work, like, outright. And now it's just the new misogyny. Calling you a TERF is like calling them a bitch or I hate women. I'm like, oh, you hate women. Now I know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really sad. And to be perfectly honest, how they live outside of sports, I really could care less.
Exactly.
If you want to be a giraffe, go be one. But when it comes to sports, it's biology. And the thing that is driving me nuts is like the IOC, they have these false studies on their freaking websites. It's just lies.
Yep.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And I try to stay non-political because it really, it's coming. It's all over the world. It's coming from the IOC, which is located in Switzerland.
And
I didn't realize
that.
Yep. And
makes
both
sense now.
both anybody who's an athlete, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, disagree with this ridiculous men racing as women. It's just ludicrous. So
Mega.
things are going to have to, the women. It's almost not my fight. I don't race.
Right.
I don't have a daughter. I've done a lot, I think, that I can do.
Yeah.
But at some point, they're going to have to stand up for themselves.
Exactly.
And do some protesting or
get loud.
Find
your voice. Because it matters.
Grow spine because you're going to you're losing your sport. People are going to walk, the women are walking away. So
exactly.
In the Olympics, you will see men as women on the podium. Sadly.
I know. People are like, oh, it's going to peak people where they'll obviously wake up. And I'm like, it's going to be an interesting thing to go through and watch, but I'm just kind of pessimistic. I'm like, I don't know. I do believe this cannot keep going at the rate that it is. I don't see how it can possibly keep winning. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't think they're going away anytime soon, sadly. But I mean, people have to start listening to women and women athletes out there. I'm telling you, you have a voice. Stop living in fear. It's such a fucking lie. They're like, oh, you're going to lose all your friends and you won't have anybody. That's a lie. This whole thing was founded on a lie. It keeps going on a lie. It keeps people silent by lying and keeping you in fear. You have got to, it really shows me how many real courageous people there are to stand up against this, because it is terrifying, and it's because you're going against the majority here. It feels like, I think a lot of that, why it feels like that is also the internet, TV, news, where like, whoa, this is a big deal. And it's like, I don't know how real this is on the real world. Like I showed my dentist today, talked to her. She's like, I'm trying to find a spot to like pique her or have a moment to talk about it, because I'm like, well, it just inevitably happens. She's like, oh, what do you do? And I was like, and she was like, and then, so as I was leaving, I gave her an adult human female sticker, a couple of them. She's like, oh, this is cute. And I was like, oh, right. Like, she, if you're a woman and you see that iconic, Posey Parker sticker, whatever, typically, if you're in this fight, what that is. But I'm like, oh, right. A lot of people have no idea what the fuck's going on. And they're like, oh, this is cute. And I'm like, oh, you think it's cute? Okay, well, this is literal hate speech now. And I told her that, and she was like, "What?" Like, it's just,
that
you,
the general public doesn't know,
right.
and Save Women's Sports actually has this fantastic this as a postcard. And this is what I'm waiting. I've ordered a bunch of them, and I'm just handing these out because it
Yeah.
explains what the differences are.
Yeah.
I actually had some guy tell me, well, when they take the female hormones, that makes them a woman.
Oh my
I'm
God,
like,
stop it.
no, it does
Wow,
not.
this is sad, pathetic.
They just
What?
don't have a comprehension
Why
of.
aren't you dating them then? Why aren't you dating? Would you date one? Well, yeah, you fucking know. You know. You
Yeah,
know.
it's just yeah, and the media. I listen to NPR, I listen to CNN, I listen to Fox.
Mm-hmm.
The NPR is probably maybe the worst. Oh,
Yes,
they
for sure.
they're banning transgenders from participating in sports. Okay, that's not what
Such a
these
lie.
bills say. The
Yeah.
bills simply say that if you were born a male, you compete as a male. If you were
Yeah.
born a female, you compete as a female.
Yes.
And if it's a co-ed sport, then you
Yeah.
compete with co-ed.
Yeah.
But
It's
it's
deliberate language
yeah,
confusion. They say
absolutely.
this bill is banning trans girls from competing with girls. And I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, half the fucking world doesn't even know what the hell trans is. So all people hear is they're banning girls from competing with girls. So obviously
right.
people are going to be up in arms and being like, what? Well, that's crazy. This is ridiculous. Because I'm like, everyone has been known for since we've been born and God knows how long what female and male, boy and girl is. And that's the language that registers to you. So when you read or hear something that says trans, it's almost like trans. It's almost like it's muted. Like it's not even a word. First of all, it's not real. So people only hear. I mean, it's such deliberate language how they write it out on these tweets of these it's always this anti shit. I hate that word now. Anti trans or whatever. I'm
Yeah.
like, you mean anti reality?
Well,
Trans girls? They're not girls, they're boys.
my
That's why they're
my
not allowed to race or be
my
with women or blah.
my
Yeah,
personal
I hate it.
favorite is trans women are women, and my comment to them is they're men. They're men. They're not women.
Yes. Okay, so if they were women, why are you saying trans women? Like,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
also, if it was true, you wouldn't have to repeat something that's true. You wouldn't have to hear every day, the sky. Wait, let's see. The sky is blue, therefore it's the sky. Whatever, the sky is blue. The sky is blue. And you're like, yeah? But when you hear shit where it's not true, they say it enough to where people believe a lie. This is a deliberate freaking psyop. Like, this is. Sounds crazy, but it's true. Like, don't repeat the language. I even try not to say trans women or women. I try to say TWAW or just TWAM. I mean, like, hello, women are women, men are men.
Yeah,
Done. Next, any further questions?
that's right.
It's just they always overcomplicated about hormone levels or testosterone. It's not about testosterone. It's about bodies. Something you
Yep.
said earlier, the first thing you said was about they said they were trying to lower men's hormone levels so then they could race with women originally. I'm like, but that's not possible.
Well, yeah, it is, but uh, you know, you you have all these guys. They don't go through a sex change. They have their full package.
Yeah,
Um, and most of them, if they take the testosterone blocker to reduce their testosterone, who's to say that they're taking it tomorrow or from,
exactly.
they might do that and then, get their little card and that's it. It doesn't really matter anyways because it doesn't
Yes.
really reduce their strength that much.
No. Exactly.
Uh, so, uh, yeah, and I don't know. I don't think any of them take estrogen. I don't know.
Yeah.
They sure don't look it because they very few even make half of it an attempt to even look like a woman.
Yeah. They don't care. They don't need to.
No, no.
And they know that.
They're just men, basically.
Yes. Yep. It's not complicated. It's seriously not complicated. Men are men, women are women.
Anyways,
Yeah, I know. So I guess if there's anything else you wanted to add, I mean, yeah, it's not complicated, people.
it's
So,
it's
yeah,
destroying women's sports, and so it needs to be fixed. This is the
yes.
whole reason we have men's sports and women's sports.
Title IX used to mean something. Yeah.
It's gone
Yep.
now. Yeah. So
Yep. Well, if is there anything you want to add or where people can find you on the interwebs if they need to find you?
you can support Save Women's Sports. There is, we have a website. There's a place to donate. It costs money to fly around. We testify.
Mm-hmm.
We try to introduce bills. So, we speak. We try to educate people. So that's one way to support. The other way, get educated.
Yeah, yeah.
Get some of this stuff and look at the real facts.
Yes.
It doesn't take a we always knew from 8th grade on,
Exactly.
boys and men are faster than women. It's
Mm-hmm.
so insanely ridiculous.
Yes.
Just because you put on a dress does not make you slower.
Yep.
So, you know,
Yep.
I I thank you so much for having me on, and
Yes.
I
Thank you for
thank
coming
you
on.
for supporting our effort.
100%. Gladly.
I'm
Yep.
just every day I want to beat my head up against the wall thinking, how can this even be real? But
I know, I know, I know. Well, we just keep fighting and waking more people up. And honestly, getting the flyers and whatnot of SaveWomenSports.com and handing it out to people and just having a tiny conversation in any way that you can really helps. Or put them out, in your town, staple them, tape them, put them in those little free newspaper things. Like stickering is great. It's not hard. I mean, there's definitely a way. Yeah. So thank you so much, Mary. It's a total honor and privilege. And thank you so much for coming on. So we'll
oh,
just keep
thank you.
fighting. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. All
All
right.
right.
Ciao, people. Hey, what's up? When people talk about important stuff, they always do this thing. I have important things to say. Tap, tap, tap. Now are you listening? Yes. Don't forget to hit subscribe and like this video and leave me a comment if you have any thoughts or feelings. What do you feel about all this gender ideology and BS stuff? How is it affecting you, if it is or if it isn't? You can also support my work by donating to me on PayPal, paypal.me/LP Foster Kittens. You can also support my work by joining my Rational Revolution on Subscribestar, which is subscribestar.com/distorted lens. Anyway, so see you next time, people.